Don't panic. The catering company demanded cash by noon, or they'd cancel the party. I borrowed the funeral fund. I read the text message standing 5 feet from my daughter's body. Ella had been dead for exactly 10 minutes. I checked the bank account. I trusted my sister Sarah to manage. $0. She emptied it. She stole the money meant to bury my 3-year-old child just to pay for appetizers at her housewarming party. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I pressed the power and volume buttons on my phone. Click. Screenshot saved. Sarah thought she was saving her party. She didn't realize she just handed me the evidence to destroy her entire life. Before I tell you exactly how I made her pay for every single cent, drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I want to see how far this story travels. I didn't go home to change. I didn't wash my face. I drove straight to the suburbs, my hospital scrub still smelling like the antiseptic soap from the morgue. I pulled up to Sarah's dream home, a towering gray box of modern architecture that Zillow valued at $850,000. It looked impressive from the curb, exactly the way Sarah wanted it to look. But I knew the truth. I walked through the unlocked front door and the illusion shattered. The echo of my footsteps was too loud. The living room was massive, but there was no furniture, just a few staging chairs with the rental tag still tucked underneath the cushions. The kitchen had marble countertops, but I knew for a fact the refrigerator was empty because Sarah couldn't afford groceries after paying the mortgage. She was house poor, drowning in debt to maintain a facade of wealth for Instagram. Sarah was standing in the center of the hollow room, directing a team of caterers. She was wearing a silk robe, holding a clipboard, looking every inch the stressed socialite. When she saw me, her expression didn't soften into sympathy. It hardened into annoyance. "Isabella, not now," she snapped, waving a caterer toward the patio. "The ice sculpture is melting, and I have 50 people arriving in 4 hours. Go home, take a shower, and come back when you're less emotional." "I'm not here for the party," I said, my voice flat. "I'm here for the $8,500 you stole from the funeral fund." Sarah let out a dramatic sigh, rolling her eyes as if I were a toddler asking for a toy. "I didn't steal it. I reallocated it. It's a bridge loan. Do you want this party to be a disaster? Do you want me to be humiliated in front of my boss? My daughter is dead, Sarah. She's in a morgue. And I can't bury her because you bought shrimp cocktails. Ella is gone, Isabella." Sarah's voice rose, shrill and desperate. "She doesn't care about the money. I'm still here. I have a future. This house is an investment for the whole family. Why are you so selfish?" Before I could answer, my parents, David and Mary, walked in from the garage. They were already dressed for the party, holding boxes of wine. I looked at them, waiting for the outrage, waiting for them to scream at Sarah for robbing their grandchild's grave. Instead, my mother stepped between us, shielding Sarah. "Lower your voice," Mom hissed at me. "The neighbors will hear." "Did you hear what she did?" I asked, pointing at Sarah. "She emptied the fund." "We know," my father said. He didn't look at me. He looked at the floor. "She called us. She had to pay the deposit. And you let her?" "We didn't have a choice," Mom exploded, her face flushing red. And then, the truth came out. It wasn't about love. It wasn't about favoritism. It was about survival. "We co-signed the mortgage, Isabella," she screamed. "We put up our retirement fund as collateral for this house. If Sarah misses a payment, if she loses face, if she loses her job, the bank takes our home too. We are all in this boat. If she sinks, we drown." I looked at them, my father, staring at his shoes, my mother, trembling with financial terror, and Sarah, smirking because she knew she was too expensive to fail. They weren't a family. They were a hostage situation. My parents had chained their entire existence to Sarah's lies, and now, to protect their own retirement, they had to help her cannibalize my daughter's funeral. "So that's it," I said, the clarity washing over me like ice water. "You aren't defending her. You're defending your investment." "It's just a delay," Sarah said, smoothing her silk robe. "Stop being dramatic. Go home. We'll handle Ella next month." I looked at the 3 of them standing in that empty, echoing house. They thought they had won. They thought I would fold because I was the nice one, the quiet nurse who followed the rules. "Okay," I said softly. I turned and walked out. I didn't tell them that I wasn't going home. I wasn't going to shower. I was going to burn their investment to the ground. I hadn't even reached my car door when Sarah's manicured hand clamped around my wrist. Her nails dug into my skin, sharp and desperate. She wasn't looking at me. She was scanning the street to make sure the neighbors weren't watching. "Get back inside," she hissed. "Mom and Dad are useless." If you want that $8,500 back for Ella, you're going to help me get it. I looked at her hand, then at her face. The mask of the wealthy socialite had slipped. Underneath the silk robe and the professional makeup, she looked feral. I let her pull me back into the house, past our parents who were now arguing in hushed tones in the living room, and into the gourmet kitchen that still smelled of fresh paint and sawdust. Sarah slammed the sliding door shut, cutting off the noise from the rest of the house. She paced the length of the marble island, her heels clicking like a ticking clock. I need the quarterly bonus, she said, not looking at me. I need it, Isabella. My credit cards are maxed. The bank is calling 3 times a day. If I don't hit the sales target by Monday, I can't make the mortgage payment. If I miss the mortgage, the bank calls the loan, and Mom and Dad lose everything. She turned to me, eyes wild. I didn't steal your money because I wanted to. I stole it because I'm drowning. But I can fix it. Tonight. How? I asked. I kept my voice low, steady. I wasn't her sister right now. I was a witness. There's a pending order at your hospital, Sarah said, stepping closer. A bulk requisition for restricted opioids. High-level pain management. It's huge. The commission on that one order alone is $12,000. It covers the funeral money with interest. So fill it, I said. You're the rep. I can't. The system flagged it because the quantity is over the automated limit. It requires a manual override from the chief medical officer to release the shipment. She paused, licking her lips. Doctor, Harrison is in Cabo for 2 weeks. He's not checking his emails. I stared at her. I knew exactly what she was asking. She wasn't asking for a favor. She was asking me to commit a felony. You want me to log in? I said. You have administrative access, she pleaded, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. You're the compliance nurse. You can override the flag. Just go in, clear the hold, and mark it as verified by verbal order. That's it. Harrison will never know. He approves these things all the time. That's narcotics diversion, Sarah. That's federal prison. Sarah laughed. A short, sharp bark of a sound. She walked over to the counter and picked up my purse, holding it hostage. Prison is losing this house, she said. Prison is being poor. This? This is just paperwork. She leaned in, her perfume cloying and sweet, suffocating me. Here is the deal, Isabella. You log in and push that order through. I get my bonus, and I wire you the cash for Ella's funeral on Monday morning. You bury your daughter. I keep my house. And Mom and Dad keep their retirement. She smiled, but her eyes were dead. If you say no, well, I don't have the money. I spent it. And since Mom and Dad are tapped out, there's nobody left to pay the funeral home. Ella stays in the morgue freezer until I say otherwise. Do we have an understanding? I looked at my sister. I saw the desperation, the greed, and the absolute lack of a soul. She was using my daughter's body as leverage to force me into a drug trafficking scheme. She thought she had me cornered. She thought I was just the little sister, the nurse who followed the rules and cleaned up messes. She didn't realize that by threatening Ella, she had just given me permission to stop playing by the rules entirely. Fine, I whispered, letting my shoulders slump as if I were defeated. I'll do it. Sarah smiled, the tension in her shoulders relaxing instantly. She released my wrist and patted my cheek, a gesture so condescending it made my skin crawl. See? She cooed. I knew you'd be reasonable. We're sisters, Bella. We help each other. She pushed my purse back into my hands and pointed toward the living room where my work bag was sitting. Go get your tablet. Let's get this done so I can go back to being the hostess with the mostest. I walked to the living room, retrieved my hospital-issued iPad, and returned to the kitchen. My hands were trembling, but not from fear. They were trembling from the sheer adrenaline of what I was about to do. I unlocked the device and navigated to the secure pharmacy portal. Okay, I said, my voice barely a whisper. I'm in. Sarah leaned over my shoulder, watching the screen greedily. There it is. The bulk order for the fentanyl patches and the oxycodone. Approve it. I tapped the button. A secondary security window popped up. Restricted Class 2 narcotic. Requires Chief Medical Officer Authorization Code. I turned the screen so she could see it. I can't, I said, injecting just the right amount of panic into my voice. It requires Dr. Harrison's personal 6-digit PIN. It's a hard stop. I don't have it, and he's in Mexico. Sarah didn't look worried. She didn't look frustrated. She smirked. It was a nasty, triumphant expression that twisted her beautiful face into something ugly. You think I'm an amateur? She asked. She reached into the pocket of her silk robe and pulled out her phone. She scrolled through her notes app until she found what she was looking for. I was in Harrison's office last month trying to upsell him on our new line, she said casually. I watched him authorize a refill. He types like an old man. 042985. His wedding anniversary. I stared at her. You stole a doctor's DEA authorization pin? I collected insurance, she corrected. She snatched the iPad out of my hands. If you won't type it, I will. She didn't hesitate. Her manicured fingers flew across the glass screen. 042985. She hit enter. The screen flashed green. Order authorized. Shipment pending. Sarah let out a squeal of delight, tossing the iPad back onto the marble counter like it was a toy she was bored with. Boom, she said, doing a little shimmy. $12,000, just like that. See? Was that so hard? She grabbed a bottle of champagne from the fridge and popped the cork. I'll wire you the money for Ella on Monday morning. Now, wipe that miserable look off your face and go home. You're depressing the vibe. I picked up the iPad. I looked at the green checkmark. I looked at my sister. Drinking champagne paid for with fraud. Celebrating a crime she thought she'd just gotten away with. Goodbye, Sarah, I said. Yeah. Drive safe. I walked out of the house. I walked past my parents, who were now laughing with a group of guests on the patio, completely unaware that they had just lost their retirement fund. I got into my car, locked the doors, and sat in the dark for a moment. I didn't drive away. I opened the iPad again. I wasn't an accomplice. I was a compliance nurse. My job was to flag suspicious activity, and I had just witnessed a pharmaceutical sales representative use a stolen credential to forge a federal narcotics order. I opened the internal reporting system. I didn't flag the order as a mistake. I flagged it as a level 1 security breach, identity theft, and narcotics diversion. In the description box, I wrote, unauthorized access detected at 7:42 p.m. Individual identified as Sarah Anderson, Healthwise sales rep. Utilized Dr. Harrison's stolen PIN to force approve restricted opioid shipment. Witnessed directly. Device location, 1402 Oakwood Lane. I attached the geolocation data from the iPad, confirming I was at her house when the order was signed. Then, I forwarded the report directly to the hospital board, the state pharmacy board, and the DEA liaison officer. I hit send. Sarah thought she had just earned a bonus. She didn't realize she had just signed her own arrest warrant. I didn't sleep. I didn't need to. I spent the weekend compiling a file that would turn my sister's felony into a federal case study. On Monday morning, at 8 a.m. sharp, I walked into the risk management office at the hospital. I didn't wait for coffee. I didn't wait for small talk. I sat down across from Gary, the director of compliance, and Agent Miller, the DEA liaison who had been flagged by my report on Friday night. We pulled the logs, Gary said, his face pale. The IP address matches the residential Wi-Fi at 1402 Oakwood Lane. The device ID matches your issued tablet. But the authorization code used was Dr. Harrison's. I know, I said calmly. I was there. I witnessed Sarah Anderson, a sales representative for Healthwise, type that code. She told me she stole it by watching Dr. Harrison over his shoulder. Agent Miller leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. You understand this is serious, Miss Rodriguez. This is identity theft and narcotics diversion. If she's pushing opioids for commission, she's looking at 10 years. But we need to establish motive. Was she working with anyone else? Is this a ring? It's not a ring, I said. It's a mortgage. I pulled a manila folder from my bag, the one Sarah had practically gifted me 6 months earlier when she bragged about getting approved. She'd forwarded her entire loan package just to show off, even highlighting the income section like it was a trophy. Sarah isn't a drug lord, I told them, sliding the papers across the desk. She's broke. And on Friday she crossed the line because she needs a $12,000 commission check to cover her mortgage. A mortgage she only has because she lied to get the house in the first place. Agent Miller skimmed the file. I tapped the page labeled, Source of Funds. Look at the deposits she claimed were commission bonuses to qualify, I said. Now match those dates against her actual sales at Healthwise. They won't line up. She's been fabricating commission statements to inflate her income for the bank. I flipped to gift letters and pointed at a $5,000 entry. And this? Gift from Aunt? We don't have an aunt handing out gifts. That money came from a cash advance on a credit card she opened in our grandmother's name. That's fraud stacked on top of fraud. The room fell quiet. Miller's focus sharpened not on me, but on the paper trail. If she used fraudulent funds to obtain the loan, he said slowly, and she's using narcotics diversion to keep payments current, then the house isn't a home, I finished. It's proceeds. It's evidence. I watched the calculation land. His mind moved past arrest and into seizure. Civil asset forfeiture. Federal authority. Property treated like an instrument of the crime. She's throwing a housewarming party tonight, I said. She thinks she got away with it because the system gave her a green check mark. Miller stood, file in hand. She thought wrong. I went back to my desk and acted normal. Emails. Charts. Routine. Inside, I felt a cold, steady certainty. Sarah wanted a housewarming. She was about to get an eviction order with a federal seal. That evening, the party was already loud when I arrived. Rented furniture. Catered trays. Guests admiring the high ceilings like nothing could touch her. Sarah held court in the middle of it all, draped in gold sequins, laughing on Mr. Henderson's arm, playing the role of the unstoppable top performer. It's about working smarter, not harder, she told a circle of junior reps. You seize opportunities when they appear. I checked my watch. 7:28 p.m. You really seized it, Sarah, I murmured. At 7:30, the music didn't cut. No dramatic sirens. Just a heavy, authoritative pounding on the front door that sliced through the chatter. Annoyed, Sarah waved. Get it, probably the wine delivery. A caterer opened the door and immediately stepped back, hands lifted, as 3 men in dark windbreakers entered. Not local police. Federal. The room froze. Sarah marched over, heels clicking, voice ready for a performance. Excuse me? This is a private party. You can't just barge in. I know my rights. The lead agent didn't react to her tone. He checked a clipboard. Sarah Anderson? Yes. And who are you? Special Agent Lewis, Department of Justice. We are executing a federal civil asset forfeiture warrant for this property. He didn't reach for cuffs. He reached for bright orange tape and a staple gun. He moved straight to the window and slapped a neon notice onto the glass. Seized property. No trespassing. U.S. government. Sarah lunged, grabbing his arm. What are you doing? You can't seize my house. I have a mortgage. This property has been identified as proceeds of wire fraud and narcotics diversion, he said, voice carrying to every corner of the suddenly silent room. It is no longer a residence. It is evidence. Everyone must vacate immediately. You have 5 minutes before the doors are secured. Panic exploded. Guests didn't debate. They fled coats, purses, keys, anything to get distance from the words federal warrant. Mr. Henderson didn't run. He stared at the orange notice, then at Sarah, and made one call. HR, I heard him say, low and furious. Terminate Sarah Anderson. Cause. Federal investigation. Cut her access now. Sarah watched her career vanish in a 10-second phone call. Then she saw me. Still in the corner. Still and silent. You. She whispered, then screamed. You. Outside on the sidewalk. Sarah shivered in her ruined gown while cars peeled away, and the orange tape gleamed on the door like a verdict. My parents stood by their luxury SUV, staring at the notice as if it were a headstone. My house. Sarah sobbed. They took our house. My mother snapped, spinning on her. We co-signed. If they seize this, they'll come for our assets too. You said the money was clean. Sarah pointed at me, frantic. I fixed it. She ruined it. She reported me. My father turned on me, face drained and furious. Not apology. Not regret. Just accusation. You did this. He spat. You destroyed your sister. You destroyed us. I told the truth, I said evenly. She stole from our child. You defended her. This is what comes next. My mother stepped forward and yanked a folded contract from her purse, the funeral home paperwork Sarah had put a deposit on. You think you won? She hissed. Sarah's name is on the contract. Mine is the secondary contact. She shook the paper in my face. Unless you go to those agents right now, say it was a mistake, and withdraw your report. We stop the funeral. My father's voice hardened beside her. We'll refuse to sign the release. We'll drag it out. You'll do what we say. They weren't bargaining with me anymore. They were trying to bargain with grief. I looked at them, Sarah crying over a house. My parents trying to buy their safety with a threat. You want leverage? I said quietly. I reached into my bag and pulled out a single sheet of paper. You can't cancel it, I told my mother. Because there isn't one. She snatched the page and scanned it under the streetlight. Certificate of direct cremation. Time stamped at sunrise. What is this? She whispered. I'm the next of kin, I said. The law recognizes the mother, not the payer. I authorized a direct cremation this morning. My father stared, the folder in his hand suddenly useless. You didn't wait for us? My mother stammered. You were busy, I said, eyes on Sarah's trembling silhouette. You had a party. I walked to my car without looking back at the orange notice, the ruined gown, or the faces that had tried to control me with paperwork and threats. I started the engine, and as I pulled away, Something heavy unhooked inside my chest. Not joy. Not triumph. Clarity. For years, I had waited for them to choose me, to see me, to love me, to become decent. I finally understood the waiting was the trap. Accepting they would never change didn't break me. It freed me. And for the first time in my life, I drove forward without checking the rearview mirror.